Bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour year one. Good morning year one. So I hope you've had a lovely weekend, and I hope you're ready for another 4 days of learning, because we finish school on Thursday this week because it's the Easter holidays, isn't it, on Friday. But I hope you're ready for 4 wonderful days of learning, and I want to set you a challenge this morning to help you along with your learning. Because I know that you've been learning about explorers. I know you've been learning about Christopher Columbus, and I know you've been learning about the other explorer, Neil Armstrong. And I've been thinking about who is the best explorer, who is the greatest explorer. And whilst I was thinking about that, I had an idea, and I want to introduce you to Bella. So this is Bella on the screen. This is Bella, my cat. Bella lives with us, and she's lived with us for about 2 years. When we first got her 2 years ago, she was a little kitten, but she's 2 years old now. But Bella is a fantastic explorer. So what is an explorer? Well, an explorer is someone or something, Bella, who goes out trying to find out new information, trying to find things out that we don't know yet, trying to explore so that we can find out more interesting things. Well, when Bella first came to our house, she'd never been to our house before, and she set out exploring, and she was a fantastic explorer. She went in every single room. She looked under the beds. She looked behind the wardrobes. She looked in the toilets. She looked in the kitchen. She looked where the cold places are, where the warm places are. She looked where her food was going to be. She went on an adventure to find out where she could sleep. And when we opened the door, she jumped out of the door and then went a big explore into our garden, and she walked all around the garden and in the bushes and around the fence. And even now, she's a little bit naughty, because even now she goes further and further and further away, and I don't think she's finished her exploring yet, because she's going into other people's gardens. She's a bit naughty. Sometimes when I'm driving home, I see her and I think, Bella, what are you doing there? Because she's a long way from her own house and her own garden. But she likes exploring. She likes going out and finding out new things and going on adventures and finding new places. Sometimes she even brings home a mouse or a bird. That's a little bit naughty, isn't it? But that's what cats do. But she loves to go out finding out new information, seeking out new places, finding new places to be. So does that make Bella the best explorer? I'm not sure. Because who is that exploring helping? Does her exploring mean I know more information? Does Bella's exploring mean you have more information? Do you know more about the world because Bella goes out exploring? Not really. Bella goes out exploring because Bella's a little bit selfish. Bella's exploring is helping her. But is it helping anybody else? Is it helping us know more about the world? Is it helping us find out more information about this wonderful planet that we live on, or the solar system of which we are a part? Our planet is part of the solar system. I don't think so. So maybe I was a little bit wrong when I thought that Bella was the best explorer. Because I know you've been learning about other explorers too. So you've been learning about this next explorer here, haven't you? Let's find him. You've been learning about Christopher Columbus. Now, what do you know about Christopher Columbus? Well, Christopher Columbus lived, 600 years ago, 500, 600 years ago? You'll be able to tell me, because I know you know that fact. So when I see you on the corridor, you need to say to me, Mrs. Williams, Christopher Columbus was born in such and such a date. And that means he was born however many years ago. That's your fact to find out. I've got a vague idea in my head, but you need to give me the facts. But I do know that Christopher Columbus was Italian, but he didn't really spend much of his life in Italy. He moved to other countries. He tried to move to Spain. He tried to move to England. He did settle for quite a while in Portugal. But I know that he wanted to find out more about the world. But not just for himself. He wanted to find out more about the world so that we could go to other countries to trade with them. So if there is a country that grows something that we don't grow in England, well, we need to get that crop to England. We need to move what is grown over in India, tea for example, what is grown over in those other countries. We need to move that crop, move that product to England so that we can enjoy it too. So he wanted to go and explore and find out how to bring all these goods, how to bring all these things that we could trade back to our country. And the place where most of those goods were is in the continent of Asia. So Christopher Columbus wanted to find out a shortcut. He wanted to find a shortcut to get to Asia so he could go in his ship and pick up all these goods from Asia and bring them back to Europe so that we could use them. And he thought, well, it's taken me a very long time. It's taken me a very long time in my ship to get to Asia, and I want to go faster way. So I've got a globe here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very well, but I do have a globe here, and maybe in your class you'll be able to look at a globe as well. But England is here, so we've got England, our country, here. And he wanted to go to Asia. So Asia is down here. Okay, and I know you can't see this very, very well, but hopefully your teacher will show you better. So he wanted to get from England to Asia. And he thought, it's taken me a very long time. So instead of going this way, he decided to go the other way around, to travel the other way around the globe. So instead of going from England down here, round here, to get to Asia this way, he thought, I know what I'll do. I'll set off and go in the other direction, across this big sea here. And I'll go travel across this big sea here. And eventually I will get to Asia, which is over here. And I'll go the other way. But unfortunately, what he didn't know was this big continent of the Americas was in the way. So Christopher Columbus is claimed that he discovered America. Of course, he didn't really discover America. America was already there, been there for a very, very long time. But as he was travelling around the world to try and get to Asia, he sort of bumped into America, and everybody says, well, he was the person who discovered America. People already lived in America. People who lived in Latin America and people who lived in South America and Central America and the Bahamas and the Caribbean, they knew it existed because they already lived there. But the Europeans, Christopher Columbus, we hadn't really been there. So we found out that that part of our planet existed because Christopher Columbus was brave enough to go exploring and set out on his travels and bumped into, it was quite an accident, he didn't mean to, he didn't know where he was going really. Does that make him a really good explorer? Because he didn't know where he was going? It must have been very scary and frightening. He really was setting off into the unknown. He really went out there not knowing where he was going. Bella didn't know where she was going. But does Bella's exploring help me? Not really, it just helps Bella. Did Christopher Columbus's exploring help me? Probably did, because Christopher Columbus's exploring meant the Europeans now know that America exists, and they also found lots and lots of different things that they could trade with in the Americas once they went there. So, is Christopher Columbus the greatest explorer? Better than Bella, I think. teaches us more than Bella ever did. Bella has a good time and Bella likes exploring, but I'm not sure that she's a better explorer than Christopher Columbus, because Christopher Columbus actually did something that helped the planet. But he was a little bit selfish. He was doing it for his own reasons. He was doing it to go and find out how he could get to Asia quicker. Does that make him the greatest explorer? Well, I know you've also been learning about another explorer, so let's just turn on to the next slide. Here we go. So who's this? So this is Neil Armstrong, isn't it? So Neil Armstrong's also an explorer. He's also somebody who went out on an adventure to find out new things. What did he want to find out about? Well, he wanted to find out information about somewhere that nobody had ever been before. He was the very first person to take a step onto the moon. Now, he didn't go to the moon by himself. There were 3 people who went to the moon. Do you know who they are? So Neil Armstrong is one of them. Do you know the other 2 people who were in the rocket with him? Buzz Aldrin. Did you know that? And Michael Collins. And what's sad is that Michael Collins is the name that we don't really hear about. We hear about Neil Armstrong because he was the man who put his foot on the moon. And we hear about Buzz Aldrin because he was the man who navigated the rocket, and he was the man who made sure the rocket got to where it needed to be. Michael Collins we don't hear much about, but he was on that rocket too. So 3 people, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins, went to the moon. Wow! What an adventure that is! Going to a place where nobody had ever gone before. Would they be able to get there? Would the rocket go safely? Would everything go to plan? What an adventure. Setting off on a journey that really was so exciting and unknown that they weren't even sure it would be successful, because previous attempts had been unsuccessful. But does that make him the greatest explorer? Well, better than Bella, I think. Still better than Bella, because he's going somewhere that nobody has ever been before. What an adventure that is. Bella just walks around our house and walks around our garden. Well, I've been there before. It's an adventure for Bella, but it's not really helpful to civilization, is it? Neil Armstrong was going somewhere that nobody had ever been. Does that make him a better explorer than Christopher Columbus? What do you think? Got some questions that might help you think about it. So, did they know where they were going? Christopher Columbus didn't really know where he was going. He set out to try to find a way to Asia, but he didn't know if he would find a way. He was sort of going into the unknown. Neil Armstrong knew exactly where he was going. He was going to the moon. He knew where he was going. So, does knowing where you're going make you a better explorer? Christopher Columbus didn't know. Neil Armstrong did know. But which is the better explorer? And then, how many people are involved? Well, to be honest, Neil Armstrong was the person who put his foot on the moon. But like I've told you before, there were other people who were actually in the rocket. How many people were involved in making that rocket? How many people were still on the Earth watching on the technology where the rocket was, doing all the maths, doing all the calculations, finding out where the rocket was, how much fuel it's got, what speed it was travelling in, what direction it needed to go in, what time of day to set off? A big team of people helped Neil Armstrong to get to the moon. Yes, Neil Armstrong put his foot on the moon, but he didn't do it by himself. Christopher Columbus, on the other hand, he had a few extra crew on his ship with him. Yes, other people built the ship, but it was all about his mission. He was determined. He was the driving force. He was the one who wanted to get Christopher Columbus's ship to find a quicker way to Asia. So he was the driving force. He was the genuine explorer. So, does knowing how many people are involved, does that help you decide? Is Christopher Columbus a better explorer? Or is Neil Armstrong a better explorer? Which one? What do you think? I still think they're both better than Bella. Bella just takes herself off. I think these two are winning so far, but which one would win? And then, what's the impact of their voyage? When Bella runs around our estate, she's just helping herself find out where the best mice are. Neil Armstrong, he taught us about the moon. But Christopher Columbus taught us about the Americas. They both helped us to know more about where we live. So, year one, I'm stuck. I don't know. 3 explorers: Bella, Christopher Columbus and Neil Armstrong. Which is the greatest explorer? I think not Bella. She sort of explores for her own reasons, but she doesn't explore for the genuine reason of travelling to places we don't know much about, so that we can learn more about our planet. Travelling in search of information. Which is the greatest explorer? Can you help me, please? Can you write down your ideas and tell me, who is the greatest explorer? Neil Armstrong? Christopher Columbus? You need to help me. I can't wait to read your answers. So bring me your work, bring me your beautiful, beautiful writing with beautiful presentation, and you help me to decide, Christopher Columbus or Neil Armstrong. And don't forget, if I see you at dinner time, or if I see you in the corridor, I need a fact from you. When was Christopher Columbus born? And how long ago was that? And if any of you want to add a little extra fact, when did Neil Armstrong put his foot on the moon? What year was that? I was a very, very little girl, so it was a long time ago. Can't wait to see your work. Bring it to me and have a fantastic day and a fantastic rest of the week, and I will see you around school.